I'm like,
Hi guys, welcome to the CallHub, another CallHub webinar. We're just going to wait for a few minutes to allow people to join and settle in while they come up. So we'll start in like about 2 minutes.
I should put a poster right there. What kind of swag do I have on hand?
And try for one if you want to put up one.
Yeah, I have what I could get to in time in the garage. I still have I have our banners that I take from conferences. So I have some. If you need 40-foot by 15-foot CallHub sign, I got you. Like, just hit me up. I have it in my garage.
I'm so bad for that.
It'll be useful for something. I learned one year on a campaign that the cheapest banners you can buy is actually a billboard. Because billboards are just giant vinyl banners. And so we just designed it with a whole bunch of smaller banners, printed up the billboard, got the billboard ship and coming. And it was like $1 a square foot, $2 a square foot. I mean, like something ridiculously cheap compared to a regular vinyl banner. We just had to cut it up and then grommet it ourselves. And so people came in the office like, I don't want to make calls. I don't want to do anything, but I want to volunteer. It's like, well, actually, do I have a job for you? Can you swing a hammer? Come to the basement with me. Come down. So everyone had like bruised fingers after a while from grommeting for weeks.
All right. Okay, so welcome all of you, and let us start our CallHub webinar. So hi and welcome. This is obviously just after the 2024 election, and just for the sake, this is our third election. We worked with the 2016 election with like Bernie Sanders and stuff. We did the 2020 election, and this is the 2024 election that we just saw. So we thought it'd be a good time to like take a look at like what happened in 24, because obviously lots of things happen. Things went in a particular way, and a lot of dramatic changes, I suppose, and obviously Trump is back. So we want to talk about what are the lessons that we learned in 2024, or more like what did we see on ground in 24 that will help us understand how these things happen, what are the gaps in campaigning, or perhaps what we could have done better. And like to explain that part, we have Sam Briggs here with us. And also we would like to look at things from, like, as Augustus put it, from like a 10,000 feet perspective, like overall, what are we hoping to achieve in 2025? 25 does not have many elections, a few like governor elections, and there are some by-elections for like seats that have been vacated, but there is 26 coming up, which is the midterms. And we can't start in 26. So all of us who hope to have a voice in campaigning, who hope to make a difference in campaigning, or who hope to bring change in the system, we need to like hit the ground running and need to start in 2025. So we would like to start that conversation at least immediately by talking about what we think can happen in 25, what kind of ideas we would like to like float out there, and what we think is going to be like the next big thing to do. And to help us with that is our CEO, Augustus Franklin. So yeah, let's start. Let's start with the first big question that I have for today, which is the overall. Now, there have been many trends in 24, obviously, but let's come to you, Sam, since you have been on the front lines of campaigning. What did you see? What did you see out in the front lines? How did it go?
First, I'm going to say 25 has important elections. Every election is important. 25 is important. Friends of DMO and stuff in New Jersey and Virginia and Louisiana would be very upset to hear that. But yeah, there are state legislatures, there's governor's races, there's municipals. And as we have seen, we need to build the bench to move it on up and take some of these races. So these things are all very important. So come to me, small races. I love it. So trends. Okay, I did notes here because I talk. I'm not very concise. So what I think, the political outcome was the biggest story, right? But everybody's doing that. I don't think we need to get into it. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel here.
We've spoken about it enough.
But, it's horrible. But we will continue, right? Hopefully, long arc of justice. Sometimes it's hard to see, but it shall bend, right? The arc of history shall bend towards justice here. So, that to the side. I think the one thing, I actually was going to come in here and say, common knowledge, like Trump did better at streaming and like micro-targeting and, hair's just been big. I actually, this morning, looking around, saw a post from Andy Barr from Uplift, and he was talking, just laid all the numbers. And actually, Team Blue, Harris spent more on streaming, spent more on DirecTV. So it wasn't just a, oh, they did it so much smarter. That was really the Trump narrative that they started on election day, and it just kind of took forward. And so it wasn't just spending more, not so, as simplistic as that, right? It's about the channel, the message, and all those things together. And I think from what we do here, it's really hitting people in the channel that they want to be hit on, right? Talk to people where they are, whether it's texting or calling. And then me, I'm a regulation nerd. I think the other big story is just regulation. I mean, from 10DLC to TCPA to filtering and labeling, like it affects everything we do. We'll continue to do it. And it also is just like a wild west out there. So, how it evolves will affect us all.
Okay. I mean, we'll get to the regulations in a while because that's like a much longer and technical sort of thing. But just to come back to like what you said, when you say like talk to people where they are, didn't we try? I mean, I feel like we have made more calls, more messages this campaign than like any time before. Okay, fine. Maybe the Democrats could have gone for a few more podcasts.
Perhaps. I mean, but one thing I'd say, when I say that, it's like we have, on our platform, we get calling, we got texting. I mean, I was there in the heyday of texting 2016, and we sent a message and filled a room with 500 people in like an hour, and it was the closest thing to silver bullet there was. But it's just not the case anymore. I mean, the channel is overrun a little bit. Calls themselves are coming. I think voice shall rise again. But people don't particularly want to be contacted on the way they don't want to. Call young people. It's going to be a tough thing. Now, granted, there are still some young people who want to talk on the phone and don't want to text anymore. And Gen Z and Y and it come back around, Gen A again. I don't know. Where all of them, don't necessarily. Maybe they're pushed back against technology. You got dumb phone era, right? Which is back to calling again. And so really it's like, you should be able to be nimble enough, be, looking at your data, know your universe enough to say like, hey, we can text these people, they will respond. We can call these people, they will respond. We will knock these people, they will respond. Not to say that you ever may figure that out. You may text them 3 times and that's actually still the best contact for them, even if they don't respond, because they will never pick up the phone. So you have to constantly be testing this stuff and going out there. But, you can be more effective. You can have a better ROI. You can just hit the people up in the way that they want to talk, which is nice, respectful, right? It's a weird thing to think of advocacy, like be respectful of voters. But, the more you can, the better results you're going to get. And so, save your money. Don't destroy the channel. I'm self-serving here, right? I don't want people just to text forever. Like if people are not answering, they're not clicking on your links, they're not replying. Maybe try something else. I don't know. You're spending money, you're making them upset. Sorry, Augustus, but like, don't send those text messages. Make the calls, do the thing, right? Try something else.
The calls might be coming back, but the question is that, like when you say, like, for example, talk to people how you are, do you feel that we haven't spoken to people enough, or do you just want us to talk to them in a different way? Like, what is your feel in the campaigns?
I mean, it's all a game of scale, right? And so like the stuff we're working at, if you can get half percentage point more here, a percentage point here, a half percentage point there, like that adds up to be quite the difference over the course of campaign, over the scales in which we're working. And so really like, if you can, we're not talking, nothing here is a silver bullet, but if you can get, a few percentage points better contact rate by texting these people rather than calling, if you can do, or vice versa by calling rather than texting, like that can mean the difference. I mean, we saw from our stuff of things we'll talk about later, like Spam Shield and some of these, they caused 2-3% increase in outcomes at the end, which feels like, it's like there's a couple of percentage points, but compared to what folks are getting before, and compared to the, when you're talking 200 million calls, well, 3% is a significant number. And so, we're doing a lot. It's just how can we be more effective with it? Because the risk is not just wasting money, it's burning our own people, right? Like it's the risk if they don't come out to vote, they don't donate, they don't do stuff, they unsubscribe to everything, they never sign up to anything again.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
there are plenty of elections that changed, or at least like the vote margin was like 10,000 votes. So you can't sometimes a few hundred votes makes all the difference. So
I once was in a race. I once lost a race. Well, it ended up being a little more in the end, but at an election day, we're behind by 55 votes, right out of like thousands of votes. And it was just, you doubled. I was like, I should have done one more party. Knocked one more door. But you don't want to be in that position. And I think that it's also, things when you talk to people where they're at, part of that is also language wise, right? We have a lot of data. We have people in multiple languages. And so being able to hit up people in the language that they want to talk in a culturally, competent way, is good. And I think part of that, like MMS messaging and texting has allowed that, because now you can do properly accents. You can do, we have a lot more characters, so you can actually send multiple languages if you're not quite sure. But like doing that, so not only the channel use, calling, texting, email, social messaging, but also the literal message and the literal language of the message, right? Being able to get your targeting down and get people where they are as they want to talk.
As Linda points out in the chat, she lost a provincial vote in Alberta by 6 votes. So yeah, it happens. But,
I don't know. I'll sleep for 2 months after that. That'd be rough.
But okay, fine. Let's move on to like the more technical stuff right now, which is regulations. I know that you know a lot about it, but let's try to keep it as simple as possible. But yeah, there are a lot of regulations that we need to keep an eye out, because things are not going to be the way they were. I mean, things are not how they were in 2020 anyway. And 2024 also, it's not going to be that way rather than 26 roundabout. So give us the roundup. What is the regulations?
Well, I'll say it's so evolving that we literally had updates this morning. The Lead Gen Industry Association filed a petition with the FCC to try to overturn call labeling and spam and text message blocking, and to get rid of TCR, the campaign registry, and make them either to disband or get sold to a U.S. company. Just this morning, that was filed. So like, I had a whole thing here of like, oh, this is what changed, and this is where we're going. It's like, well, also, I don't know. We'll find out. We'll see what happens. So that's the big caveat here, I guess. But I mean, biggest thing from 24 to 25 is now unregistered texting. It is going away, maybe, sorta. Kinda. I say this on January 29th. As of February 1st, right? Unregistered texting will finally, truly, absolutely be gone. But they've said that before, so I think, we shall see. But it has, that is the trend of where we're going. So they may still keep extending the deadline. Carriers like money, so we'll see what happens. But as of now, right, that is where we're going, to then make 10DLC the law of the land. And that has been, the biggest change is you cannot, for the most part, you can't text tomorrow. You need something you got to do. Well, now you got to wait a week. You got to register. You got to go through there. And you have to tell somebody what you're doing, which, a lot of groups have a reason to not do that, or not necessarily tell them. And so to that end, that is actually, like I was saying, this court case has been filed. TCR is owned, not by an American company. They come out of Milan, I think. So you talk about, make phones great again. You have your America First people. The whole thing just happened to TikTok. Same sort of thing here. If you want to talk about big tech censorship, T-Mobile, AT&T, they're able to control what messages go out based on the content of said messages. Campaigns and advocates get to register with TCR in order to send messages. They get to decide who gets to send and not. Like, how is this free speech? So it does, kind of dovetail really well with the America First sort of MAGA stuff coming through. So this might be a place where the FCC, could actually take this stuff up. I mean, if you asked me 6 months ago, I've been like, no, it's probably here to stay. How do you fight T-Mobile? But if the federal government turns against it, I mean, there could actually be something happening here. So, keep an eye out on it, see what happens. Still do 10 DLC. We have to, live this way. But I think there is, an inkling that maybe that will change. And then what happens after that? Who knows? It's about to be, who knows? It'll be Wild West after that. And then the other one is labeling. I mean, so labeling is just getting worse. I mean, that has been the trend for 24. We started off with some labeling. It's by the end of the year, we're down to calls getting labeled after about only 400 outbound calls. Last cycle, we were at like 900 to 1,000. Now we're down to 400. Next cycle, it'll be 5 calls. Then it gets a label. But they're just trending super down. They're also still sending back fake disconnected tones. The apps are, so we're still seeing a whole bunch of fake disconnected results across the industry. There's no real, recourse for this. The petition that went through, that's one of the things they're asking for, is to undo labeling and make labeling banned. So we'll see what happens there. But as of now, it is pretty much just up to T-Mobile and up to AT&T, and they are definitely leaning into their own, ability to label based on reasonable analytics for unwanted calls. Just a few years ago, they had to deliver all the calls. This is a whole sea change from a decade ago, 6-8 years ago, where we're going to. Yeah. So it is the labeling is a thing, and just fighting it. I mean, so rent a ton of numbers, use spam label stuff, come talk to us. We got great strategies, but like doing something, it used to be like, oh, that's a great idea. It's required now. Like if you are not doing something about labeling, if you're not doing something about blocking, your calls are not being delivered, your texts are not being delivered. You're actually just wasting your time and your members' money and all that. So, it is just a requirement these days.
I mean, just ask like Augustus for a minute. In all your meetings, like especially like meetings in like Washington and stuff, when you're speaking to like people like campaign managers and stuff, did they feel that like, especially like when they use technology like CallHub, did they feel that their calls were not getting through, or that, as Sam says, that is calls coming back, or do they feel that calls are like going and this is going to stick to text? Because if everything gets labeled spam, then like no one will answer it, right?
That's true. I think like a lot of people are definitely seeing the contact rates go down. Like people, we've been calling people, but like Sam said, right? Some of these channels are already like over regulated. I think like the whole 10DLC is getting like harder and harder. Call labeling is getting harder and harder. So I sort of think that people um, start maybe using alternate channels. Look at like interactive text messages like RCS maybe. Look at MMS more. So I see like some of the advanced campaign managers trying out some of these new things, and I think we will sort of see that expand over like maybe the next year and for 2026.
Oh, okay. All right. Back to Sam then.
I got one more. I know,
Yeah.
I know it's so exciting, but the last big one is TCPA cases. We start off the year or last year, still worried about ATDS cases. People saying this is an automated phone dialing system. TCPA violations are $1,500, so it's something to watch out for. And also, they can go against individual people. LLC does not protect you against TCPA, nor does a campaign structure. So they go after, the candidate or the campaign manager or the field director or anything like that. So they're very big, scary things. The ATDS cases have kind of gone to the side as just less and less courts have been saying, you need to randomly generate numbers, things like that. There is still some squishiness out there, but generally those have dropped off dramatically. But pre-recorded voice and DNC cases are still super high. TCPA cases are still rolling. They just switched how they were doing it. And so robocalls, automated dropped voicemails, ringless voicemails, these sort of pre-recorded things are still very dangerous, and in fact more dangerous than I would say they were a year and a half ago, whereas you come into 24, just because it is the only thing left for the people to sue on. So if they can't sue an ATDS, they're going to do pre-recorded voice. And so just watching for that, making sure it. And so opt-ins, right? TCPA has always been a thing, opt-ins always been a thing, but the value of an opt-in has gone up by orders of magnitude, I think, over the year, both from 10DLC and from TCPA standpoints. Like, it gets more restrictive. If you can get an opt-in, you're golden. And so that's really that has only increased in value.
Interesting, a little side topic, but still interesting. Between the two of you, has there been an increased fear of being sued? Like, have you felt that a lot of people have been worried? But because the fines are legendary.
Why are you trying to jinx me, Vinayak? That's not. You're trying to mess me up here. I got to knock on wood and like spin around 3 times or something. I mean, I think, I would. To be honest, I think it's a drastic people on both sides of the issue. You have your really big organizations that are so scared. In fact, so scared, a lot of folks haven't taken advantage of some of the things that are good. Like, you don't have to click send on every P2P message anymore. There's things like that are advantageous to new regulatory, changes. But they're, it's inertia. Some folks haven't even taken advantage of that. Not sure what to do with volunteers yet. And then on the other side, when you get to the smaller side or the newer side, you're a new campaign manager. You're new, you're just launching this, like, what do you know about TCPA regulations or advocacy or something? So it's folks who just, don't know. And I think it's important for like platforms like us and other vendors to like, build this stuff into your tools to educate people, right, as they come on, to make sure folks are doing the right thing. But, it leads from knowing nothing to me side of just being real paranoid and loving regulation. I'm real fun at parties, I'll tell you what. You want to talk TCPA?
Exactly. All right, no, speaking of tools, let's move on to the most exciting. I don't know if it's exciting, but I think the tool that we're all talking about, and this one is for Augustus actually, it's about AI. Now, there is the concern about, like, what do we all know about AI, right? Okay, you use it to generate content. That's our big thing, right? Like, we'll use AI to write a speech or whatever, right? Write like an ad. They're not very good right now, but okay, it saves a bit of the labor. But I feel like, especially in like kind of the industries that we are in, AI is not really something that, like, we're all writers, we've all marketed, we've all done campaigning for like 20 years now. So we can write a campaign speech. That's not really the big concern. So what about you, Augustus? Have you seen, like, where do you think AI is going to go with this, especially in campaigning?
I don't hear you.
Augustus, can't hear you. You're on mute.
He was saying something against AI, so the AI jumped in and cut him off. See? Starting right here.
Can you hear us? Can you hear Augustus?
Unsure. I still can't hear him.
No.
I will. As he figures it out, I'll tell you. I think that you're right. Writing and editing is kind of everywhere. It's built into Gmail. It's built into everything. You know, you can get assistants writing or rewriting or doing something that's sort of ubiquitous at this point. I think AI agents, we see them. They're starting. They're coming through. Especially in the stuff we do, advocacy, political campaigning, stuff like that. It is kind of a high risk situation. So I don't think we've seen it as much as like in the telemarketing space. There's more agent, but there's also just regulation. Like it's going to be pre-recorded voice. You got to have opt-in for generative AI, all this stuff. And so, it's just not going to be as useful for talking to voters or talking to public at large as, people will be. Augustus, can we hear you?
Augustus, working?
No. I'll continue. I will continue then. I was like, so they still are there. So I think really what we can do, and I bet you Augustus will back me up because, we're of one mind here, is what we're going to do is empower people. I mean, I think there's a big, opportunity here to not just, don't take away work or do something like that or do something replacement, but actually just empower people to do more. And so one of the ways I think I'm really excited about, having done large calling campaigns for years, I think I did, Bernie Sanders campaigns back in 2016. I was calling director there. We had over 100,000 calling volunteers. How many of them were good? I don't.
They were passionate.
That's a great question. I don't know really. And we have some numbers, but did that actually mean effectiveness? And I think now that we can do transcripts, summaries, sentiment analysis of why some people are better than others using this information. Now that we have actual access to content, that opens up a whole new world of, you can be 100% sure there's no trolls. You can be 100% sure everybody's saying compliance statements. You can be 100% sure that everybody's doing what they should be doing. That level of certainty is just, I just got goosebumps. I swear, I'm a nerd about this, but like that level of certainty has never happened, right, in a calling campaign. And like to be able to know that with certainty, know your metrics are legit, do that. That is something that can truly like empower people to do better, empower campaigns to do more, like, using it to do more. Augustus.
I feel that as well. Augustus, can you hear me? I don't know.
At least we're not a video communications company. So this is not us. This is not our technology.
This is not our I got you. But just to continue our conversation, I'll add one thing to what you are saying. See, there is going to be regulations about like the usage of AI, especially like what you were mentioning, right? You can use AI to like generate audio and different languages. I'm very sure that regulation will come out that will either curtail it or ban it outright because people are frankly freaked out. They don't like it. And then there's the idea like, a previous webinar we had done a few months back was with like a voiceover artist. And she had mentioned it. She was saying that, I don't like the fact that you can just, this is my livelihood.
Yeah, so I can imagine. We should circle back up because I imagine it's been a rough few months for her, absolutely. Because like that is the kind of stuff that like it is. I would say that there's some advantages here. Like I was thinking about like candidates, you could record. You can make a deepfake yourself, right, and then record your ad in different languages in first person talking. There, you could do things there that there wouldn't be possible. So there's there's opportunity here. You could, if you did a deepfake, you could record robocalls on the fly or do voiceovers on the fly with the candidate, get them to approve it afterwards. Like. Never track a candidate down to do a recording. That would be not so bad. So there could be some advantages here, but there is a lot of risk, right? There is a lot of stuff coming down the pike, and I think you were going to see exactly that. Overall transparency, but some localities, some municipalities, probably places that have been kind of cutting edge, there will be straight up bans, and right, it's going to be sort of a patchwork for a while.
No, because I feel like the thing about AI, especially in our sector, in terms of campaigning, fundraising, organizing, the weight of AI is going to go into analytics, not into like content creation. It's going to be like, I spoke to 5,000 people. I need to know what these 5,000 people thought about in like half an hour. And that.
I got a friend over at Giotto. JOTTO, which that is their whole thing, is they will be able to, go through all the stuff and find out what you're missing. Because like I can write my script and have my survey questions, and then they get out in the field and everyone's just like, don't care about my survey questions. They're talking about something else.
Yeah.
How will I know that? That'll never surface up to me because it doesn't come through my data. And so it's like, being able to actually have the capacity to listen to every call and be like, you know what? People are talking about that lightning thing that happened downtown. They're like, what? Oh, okay. And you can bring that into there.
Especially, I feel like AI will help us. Benign AI will help us in terms of trend predictions. Trends are the biggest thing. We used to pay like campaign managers a lot of money because they had like the gut feeling that told that, you know what, this person's going to vote like percent vote is going to happen. I think. Oh, yeah. I'm not do that anymore. AI can tell us what trends are. AI can monitor a large amount of data, which I feel is where like the whole idea about campaigning, especially now in like, I get it that the presidential candidates are raising $1 billion and spending $1 billion, but let's be honest, we are not raising $1 billion. Like your local school board, which is really important, but that person is raising like they cannot like get like 50,000 people to like campaign for them. So I think that is where AI, like there is fear that AI is going to take our jobs and things like that. I don't think that's going to happen. Instead, I feel that just how like Excel did not take the job of accountants, I feel like AI is going to empower more people to feel more confident in running campaigns. The biggest problem is that, we have to pay a lot of money to have a campaign, and the people who give us money want things from us. Let's be very honest. That's how it works. They give us money. We have to do some things for them because they give us the money. We need the money for outreach. If AI could take out that aspect, saying the fact that, look, I don't need that much money, I would be that much more free to campaign.
Yes, I think that's if on the small campaign, your real advantage is like, yes, being able to do things, a little bit more efficient, a little bit more effective. And when every penny, every dollar, every hour counts, especially you can never get time back, right? Especially on a campaign, that is the one thing. So if you can be a little bit quicker, a little bit better. And then like I was saying, like finding stuff you don't know, like I think the agent stuff, like being able to actually tell why you're best, agent effectiveness can be orders of magnitude outcomes in calling programs, right? A good agent versus a bad agent. Somebody's good on the phone versus bad on the phone will do 10 times as good. It's just drastically different. It's also hard to figure that out. The whys, the whats, the wheres, what's going wrong, and, do that at scale, especially if you have thousands of callers. Well, with, transcripts and AI and some of the stuff, you now can do stuff like that and be able to say like, oh, this is why these people are good. This is what's going wrong here, and do that sort of like analysis that was just out thing. I heard you, Augustus. Boom, say something.
Oh, did you hear me?
Yeah. Yes. Hey, welcome. Now I guess you get to just take over the rest of this, considering I.
Yes. Well, yeah, as we're talking Augustus, like AI.
All right. Sorry. Yeah. No, so I was going to say, no, AI agents, right? Like AI agents is probably one thing that's probably not been regulated yet. I don't know if it's considered as automated voice according to TCPA. So we have to be careful about how we use AI agents in our calling campaigns. But in general, I agree with you, Vinayak. I mean, I think AI would definitely create a lot more jobs. There's a lot of fear out there in the market. Like, people are fearing AI, but I think we should embrace it. And the people who embrace it will find that you're able to do a lot more things now at scale that you have not been able to do before. We started with like, small pieces within CallHub. I think we'll see that expanding into much larger use cases. And we can do things that we have not been able to do in the past. Like we've never been able to do a quality check at scale. We are not been able to figure out like, donations at scale. So we could do a lot of stuff that we could not do earlier with AI much more quicker. And in the meantime, I think we would create a lot more jobs by doing it. So I'm very, very excited for 2025 and what AI brings to the table.
Since we didn't have you for a while, let's just jump straight to another question for you itself. 25, it's coming up. What do you think? I mean, what are we going to do? What is your feeling about like what the trend going to be?
You're talking about CallHub?
Not just CallHub, actually. No, beyond. In general, how do you think campaigning is going to go? Beyond CallHub. Like, fine, we work for CallHub, but even us, like if you look at all the people who are attending and stuff, we're all trying to campaign in different ways. Fine, CallHub gives you the support to campaign, but beyond CallHub itself, how do you think campaignning is going to happen based on what you saw?
Well, there's one obvious trend. He's going to pay his success and salespeople are going to be paid more in 2025. I mean, obviously that's a trend. That's
I think a couple of things. Okay, so there are definitely a lot more channels. I think people are going to definitely explore other ways of doing this, like podcasts, right? Like I think podcast is probably going to take off. You're probably going to get like this kind of interactive messaging, like RCS and app-based messaging take off. A lot more AI-based. I think quality checks would take off. So I think this whole, um, I- we talk about AI in actual usage in campaigns, right? But I think the opposite side of this, the number of spam and scam has also increased with AI, and a lot more scam and spam are coming out in the market, right? Like you've seen about the whole crypto thing. Crypto scam has been the biggest scam that's like maybe AI is built. So all of these things, I think we have to use AI to clean up some of the channels that we are already familiar with. Texting and calling will get cleaned up with AI, I think, and therefore they become better that we can use them again, and the new channels that will come up. So that's my general view for campaigning in 2025 and beyond.
I see. What about you, Sam? Any ideas about what you're going to do?
I mean, I agree. I think alternatives SMS, like it's both flooded and overregulated at the same time, and it's like, so it's really hard, the value. And I think you'll see more stuff like, in order to reduce the admin workload on this, so that your workload and your results stay done, but also RCS, social messaging, app messaging, Signal, stuff like that. That's going to be over the top of phones. I think will be the rise of that. Also voice, just you can always call people. Rise of voice shall hopefully come. Rise of voice shall rise again, my baby voice. I think one thing, more ads going directly to handsets. I think that we're going to see, as more stories come out, that the right did really good at this. They also use like secret Telegram channels and stuff to send ads that never make it to the TV or never make it to streaming, and are way more targeted, way more offensive, way more but they send it direct to people, and so it doesn't make as much of a splash, and they're able to get done. I think especially with RCS, you can do 200 megabyte files, so you'll be able to do full HD, full documentaries. I mean, you can do a lot in 200 megabytes. And so I think it's going to be a real nice fit for like a fractured media environment. If you need to contact people, don't worry about where they're going to, just send the stuff directly to them. So then you don't have to worry so much about, are they doing streaming or over the air? Like, put it on their phone already. And so just rise of MMS, just for that kind of stuff, cost effectiveness, all that. And then on calling, just more labeling. If this petition goes through and they get in the FCC to undo labeling, amazing. Otherwise, just increasing. I'd only see them becoming more strict, more labeling. I mean, the carriers want to do it because they want to force businesses to pay them to unblock numbers. And then they can also get consumers to pay them to block numbers, and they make money on both sides, and it's great for them. So I don't see why they would stop.
Yeah.
Right, unless they're forced to. So I can see that going. My dream would be something done about scam and spam packs and stuff like that. Just the activist in me, really just, I wish we could ban a 9,000% match. Like, it doesn't exist. It's not real. It's just pressing people. If you could say, like, if, I've begged you. Oh, Pelosi's begged you. Biden's begged you. Like, if we could, do a little something there. And that's not even the worst. The real ones are there. It's all the fake ones out there. And so, like, I don't know if it's like an industry on the left, if it's like a DNC thing, or if it's something, like, I would love to see something there. Just from I want to save the channel, right? I also want to be effective. It sucks for the small candidates and stuff who can't afford to just continually spam when they're getting overrun by all this just dross. So that'd be the dream.
Right. Weirdly enough, I also have a certain idea about what I think like the next 2 years especially is going to go. And like, so bear with me. The thing is, like, whatever said and done, at the end of the day, the Democrats got hammered in 2024. Yes, there are a lot of elections lost on fine margins. The popular vote is not as large as the Republicans say it is. That's not like that is there. But the truth is, the party system itself took a bit of a beating. So what I feel. But like, there are people who are Democrats, obviously. Like, Democratic parties, millions of supporters have married. They may not like the system that the party is running in, but the supporters still exist. So my prediction for the next 2 years is going to be, we're going to see an explosion of small town campaigners, what I call small town campaigners. Basically, it's like, that's the Democrat in your like local city or local town. They're like, vote blue no matter who. Those are those types, right? They would have always been Democrats. I don't think they're going to abandon the Democratic Party. I mean, sad as it may be, I don't think it's realistic that they're not going to build a third party in like 2 years and magically win some seats, not in anywhere. That's not happening. So my guess is we're going to see an explosion of small-time people, especially thanks to AI. They're going to be people who campaign. We used to call them volunteers back in the day who just go and hand over a flyover. This is different. Now, this volunteer, for example, can pretty much broadcast by themselves. They can run a campaign. Yeah, they can use AI to make their own messaging on the spot. They can use AI to disseminate that message. For example, if whoever the Democratic candidate in that area is says that this is what I think, earlier the volunteer had little choice but to, let's say, print it out and put up on a flyer saying, this person said it, here's what I think. So they can make their own platform. So I feel like that's going to be the point. Yeah, an explosion of basically very small scale campaigners who are like, you know what, we will use AI and we will use tech like CallHub to do mini campaigns of our own. And you
always see it. There's always been people, just like get out there, run in every election, get out there and do something. But it is hard to have as much of a effect if you're just one person. If you have a small group, small group makes change all the time. But also it's hard to have a small group. It's like, but with AI, you can leverage so much stuff. And so I do think, you will see some of the people leveraging into what didn't have the resources before, which will be good and bad. You're going to hate some people who should be doing it, who are getting there. You also see, some races get overrun by just like a ton of candidates and things like that. You'll see too. So, but yeah, that will be interesting to see how it, affects and then how regulation, like if you get regulated, then does that become a First Amendment issue? Like, well, you're taking away the rights of people to be able to communicate if you're regulating AI or, and how does that come down? Yeah.
We'll see about the First Amendment. Executive orders are being signed left, right, and center. So we'll see about that First Amendment shortly. We'll see. But anyway, off that hot topic, let's get back to this thing. All right, Augustus, since you had mentioned CallHub, like you were saying, what do you think about CallHub? What are we doing in 2025?
What are we doing? So we're going to obviously expand our current set of tools, right? We've always been about providing access to high quality tools to everybody. So I think we will definitely expand our current set of tools. All these new channels, you see them happening in CallHub. But we also noticed a couple of interesting trends that in the industry that we're going to target this year. One of the things that we realized is corporatization of nonprofits. Okay, so a lot of these smaller organizations, they don't get donors easily. So the donation cycle has become longer. The donors don't trust the organizations anymore. And a lot of the campaign managers also, report that the volunteers, right? So the volunteers, they don't stay longer. The volunteers are also jumping between campaigns. So we're trying to see, okay, so what can we do to help, especially the smaller organizations, to get these small donors back. And how do we build trust within the system where the volunteers want to also volunteer for smaller organizations? So this move towards larger and larger nonprofits has impacted the industry, and so we are thinking of solutions there, help smaller organizations do fundraising better, recruit their volunteers better, and an expanded set of tools that they will have. So I think the broader problem is probably what we're going to solve with CallHub in 2025.
All right. Corporatization of nonprofits. I like that term as such. And I feel political campaigning aside, I think it is something we've all wondered about. Everybody seems to have, everybody and their grandmother seems to have NGOs, at least nonprofits. There are 1.6, 1.7 million registered nonprofits in America. The total money raised in 2023, the last Pew Research was in 2023, was $1.1 trillion, by the way. Trillion with a T. That's how much money nonprofits raise. So there is money to be raised, but obviously we look around America, homelessness has not disappeared magically.
This goes with my scam pack thing. This is why we got to save the channel. Because if you're a small organization that can send one round of text, how can you compete with somebody who's raising money and just spending it on sending more text and raising money to spend it on sending more text? You can't, if you're your local group, you just can't compete at that same level. And it is an unfair playing field. So
it is. If we could do something about it, that'd be great, because that's on a personal level as well. That is something that has always kind of bothered me, because I think it's a case of most of us. We know people like our friends and stuff who We're just normal people trying to help somebody. And then we all know like a foundation that just raised $300 million and, held a gala somewhere for like the latest Banksy auction or something. And we're like, you know what? This guy is like out there every day feeding the homeless out of his truck. Maybe give him the money and he could do it. But that guy does not have the means to actually like take like money. And you wonder what the Banksy exhibition is for. Like, great, you raised $300 million. I'm not seeing like the neighborhood person seems to have bigger effects. It's something I personally care about a lot as well. So
remember, I don't unsub from anything, right? Because this is my job. So you want to talk about somebody who gets a lot of text messages, like, Lord, I get a lot of text messages. So yes, if we could, clean this up just from a personal standpoint, it'd be wonderful. I love it. Also, I would say from my side, I think what I want to focus on here is the stuff I've been hitting, the caller quality. Like, you can just do so much, the outcome, and can texter quality, just, volunteer quality, agent quality, because you just have so much different outcomes. Somebody who is good at it, somebody who knows they're doing, feels comfortable, and somebody who is not, somebody who's well trained, somebody who's not. And then just the little things, you're asking the wrong questions. Ask different questions you can do better, knowing where the drop off in your script is, like all the stuff that we can get now that we have access to call content. And so it's really just, lean into that and trying to really leverage that to have people get, much better outcomes. You can't get new numbers. You can't necessarily beat labeling, but you can do better on the calls that do connect. And that is something anybody can do and everybody can do. And that's, something I think we can assist with, the AI stuff and the sentiment and all the things that we can do for them.
That's nice. Last thing, I would say that, like from my side, if I had to add the personally like CallHub, I would like to hope that we work and try to encourage small campaigns. So that's like a pet peeve of mine. I feel like, especially in 2024, we've seen all the money raised and somehow a lot of the talk has been like, what's the point? We can't and I want that stuff to end. America used to be the place where like, your neighbor would stand to be mayor. That was the whole thing, right? Participatory democracy. Like literally.
My neighbor? I don't know.
If the neighbor was like landlord, right?
But sure, yeah, theoretically, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like in general there was at least some brief time, let's say in the 80s or something, where there was a whole possibility. I feel like today,
you go back far enough. It's like there's a lot of possibility if you were a white man who owned land, of course. Yeah.
Yes.
Never if you weren't.
If you owned a plantation, you could be president. Well, that is there. But the thing is,
how far are we going back, Vinay? How far go back? I mean, I think that is the. I mean, this is always the problem: risk and reward, right? We opens up a lot of possibilities that can go multiple ways. I mean, who thought that NVIDIA would, crash and burn this week? I mean, things change on a dime. Who knew COVID was coming? I mean, these things can happen and being prepared, which is what I'll say. I think somebody going to the future trends, no matter what happens, I'll tell people, because it's also my job. No matter what happens, what you want is opt-ins. Collect opt-ins, because no matter what goes on, regulation, things change. Opt-ins are your golden ticket. So no matter what you're doing, make sure you're collecting opt-ins, specific opt-ins for the stuff you're doing, text messaging, pre-recorded voice, generative AI, AI-generated content, automated dialing technologies. Make sure you're specific about these. And then no matter what happens, the trends, we're right, we're wrong, regulation gets easier, it gets worse, TCR stays, it goes. No matter if we're, what happens here, you're still going to be set and ready for everything. And ready for whatever the new technologies and things come down the line. So opt-ins are always the golden ticket. Collect them, do everything you can to get them, because all this stuff, if you got opt-ins, you can do whatever you want. So go crazy
and go make more campaigns. But on that, on that happy note, we shall wrap up this webinar as such. It's been 45 minutes. Thank you so much for those who attended, for giving us your time. We will send you a recording of this webinar, and obviously if you have any questions, do mail us. We'll be happy to reply and do any follow-ups that you wish. Thank you, Augustus and Sam, for your time as well. So we'll catch you in a while.
Thank you too.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.